Before we get started, please note that nothing in this video should be misconstrued as legal advice. These are my personal opinions provided exclusively for entertainment purposes, and any arguments presented are merely for commentary and hypothetical conversational value only. With that out of the way, let's get started. If you would have asked me last May about becoming a video content creator, I would have laughed at you and said, absolutely not. However, I broke down in late October 2017, and I made this YouTube channel and published my first video, The Social Media Constitutional Crisis. It was not only my first video, but it was my first attempt at making a video ever, as I knew nothing about video content creation, and I'm still learning as I go. In my first video, I argued that social media platforms are the 21st century public square, and, at least in the United States, should be protected under the U.S. Constitution's First Amendment right to free speech. In support of my argument, I cited the 2017 United States Supreme Court decision Packingham versus North Carolina, which generally adopted this view. Now we fast forward to February 20th, 2018. Why? Well, white nationalist Jared Taylor and the New Century Foundation filed a lawsuit against Twitter in San Francisco County Superior Court in California, in part for violating California's Constitution and other state civil rights claims. To support their complaint, they also cited the U.S. Supreme Court case Packingham versus North Carolina in much the same way that my video incorporated it nearly 4 months earlier. Now, I can't technically claim credit for inspiring this lawsuit, but I'm humbled that the highly experienced, well-established legal professionals involved in this case agree with and confirm the views contained in my October 2017 video. However, hypothetically speaking, if I was an attorney, here are some things I would also incorporate into a lawsuit against Twitter. In 2010, the United States Supreme Court in Citizens United versus the Federal Election Commission held that corporations are people in that they have First Amendment rights. I'd argue that if this is the case, then corporations should also have First Amendment responsibilities, including being barred from limiting the First Amendment free speech rights of others. It's important to note that hate speech is not barred under the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. Further, if I were an attorney, I would also incorporate federal anti-discrimination claims and supporting court opinions in my lawsuit. Links to the notable U.S. Supreme Court cases on these subjects are included in the description below for reference. I would specifically claim that Twitter discriminates and promotes the discrimination against white people and biological males of all races. To be clear, I would accuse Twitter of racial and sex-based discrimination. In my complaint, I would include side-by-side comparisons showing how Twitter endorses such hashtags as Kill All Men and Kill All Whites, while suspending and permanently banning accounts that criticize feminist and social justice warrior hypocrisy and bigotry. I would even show how Twitter includes these hashtags in their autocomplete options for searches on their platform. I would also include evidence from my most recent video about Twitter proving that they fraudulently block followers of the men and white people that they've targeted for discrimination, while fraudulently making it appear that the people that Twitter targets were the ones responsible for the blocks, not Twitter themselves. A link to that video is in the description as well. Even more importantly, I would include facts and allegations showing how Twitter is targeting the accounts of white people and men of all races by fraudulently unsubscribing their followers, as well as falsely flagging their followers as bots, and then locking these followers out of their own Twitter accounts. The most notable example of this is Twitter's targeting of United States President Donald Trump and their false flag removal of his followers as bots, and again, locking them out of their own Twitter accounts. If the President of the United States, the most powerful person in the free world, is being discriminated against by Twitter without legal recourse, Twitter will discriminate against anyone. Thus, I would ensure this case became a class action lawsuit on behalf of white people and males of all races similarly discriminated against by Twitter. Now, if I were an attorney, there are other things I could also bring up, but these are the major ones that I would showcase in any lawsuit against Twitter. Now, let's have a hypothetical discussion about procedure. If I were an attorney, I wouldn't file a lawsuit in California State Court. This is because a lawsuit of this nature better be prepared to head to the Supreme Court of the United States. Filing in California State Court, because California is so biased against men of all races, white people, and free speech, is a waste of legal fees. Therefore, I would file in federal court in California and include both my state and federal causes of action in the federal suit. And if I was the attorney taking over a case filed in California state courts, I would transfer the case to the federal court for the same reasons. Further, in federal court, if the case won, the winners might be entitled to punitive damages, which in a case like this could not only be a significant win, but it would send a message to other social media bigots that a similar fate awaits them should they continue to discriminate against men of all races and white people. Once filed in federal court, I would immediately move for change of venue. This is because the odds of a white nationalist getting a fair trial in a liberal stronghold that routinely discriminates against men of all races and white people while advocating the violation of federal immigration laws is slim to none. Further, at the same time, I would also file a motion to remove any judge or referee assigned to the case that has given money, donations, endorsed, or volunteered time to any organization that discriminates against white people, men of all races, and advocates for the violation of federal immigration laws for the appearance of bias. Finally, to reiterate, from day one, I would be preparing this case for the United States Supreme Court. You see, a case like this has never been heard by the United States Supreme Court before, and in a legal sense, this is a case of first impressions. This means the Supreme Court is far more likely to accept it as a matter of public interest, especially because Twitter has been well documented in the media for targeting federally elected officials, including the President of the United States, Donald Trump, for racist and sexist discrimination and harassment. As a reminder to everyone, I'm not an attorney, and nothing said in this video should be construed as legal advice. These are my personal opinions and commentary only. If you believe you have a lawsuit against Twitter or anyone else, my suggestion is to contact an attorney and discuss your case with them. In closing, it's important to note that while I oppose white nationalist ideology, I also oppose all efforts to bar them from their constitutional right to free speech to talk about it. They have just as much right to speak freely about their beliefs as anyone else. If we're only willing to protect one group of people while discriminating against those we disagree with, then we're not protecting anyone, and at the same time, we're eroding the constitutional foundations of our country and our way of life, which, if allowed to continue, will eventually lead to the loss of both. If you've enjoyed this video, found it educational or insightful, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to hit the bell so you'll be notified when I upload new content. You can also support my work on Patreon. And in case I'm targeted by YouTube, I also mirror all my content on Bitchute and MGTOW.com. Further, you can also find me at misandrytoday.com, where you can contact me directly. In addition, you can also direct message me on Gab or Minds.com. All the links are in the description. I'm DDJ, and this has been your dose of Misandry Today.